Grab a cup of coffee and start your Sunday with Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life features stories to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Every Sunday morning at 9 on the Talk of New York, AM 970, The Apple. Visit cyacyl.com.
Hi, this is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. Our guest today is health and wellness expert and New York Times bestselling author Dr. Christiane Northrup. Internationally known for her empowering approach to women's health and wellness, Dr. Northrup is a leading proponent of medicine and healing that acknowledges the unity of the mind and body, as well as the powerful role of the human spirit. She is the author of Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom, The Wisdom of Menopause, The Secret Pleasures of Menopause, and The Secret Pleasures of Menopause Playbook. Welcome, Dr. Northrup.
Thank you.
I just want to tell you, I never thought that I would say the word secret pleasures and menopause in one sentence.
I know.
And we will talk about the truth in that in a moment. But the very beginning, what I'd like to do, because so many women today tend to have this mindset that when we want to take care of ourselves and we want to nurture ourselves, that self-care equates to being selfish. And I would like you to explain to our listeners why it is very important for us to take care of ourselves.
Well, the first thing I want to say is that women didn't get the right to vote in the United States till 1920. And that means that we have not even been considered complete people for 100 years, whereas for 5,000 years, all of written history, we have been seen as less than. And the medical profession has treated women as less than, with the white male being the bastion of what is considered normal in terms of blood values of everything and so on. So let's just say we come by this idea that taking care of ourselves is selfish. We come by it very honestly because we just have not had a long history of being taken seriously, and that becomes internalized. And therefore, like any repressed or oppressed group, we actually begin to internalize the mindset of those who oppress us. And I have come to believe that that's the key to freedom. I remember reading a quote from Harriet Tubman, and she said, "I freed hundreds of slaves. I could have freed thousands more if they had known they were slaves." And so when a woman decides to take care of herself, it is really an act of political warfare, and it is a huge step forward, because what happens is everyone expects that mom will do everything for free, and if you're a girl, you will accept 75 cents for every dollar that a man gets, and on and on and on. And the way for that to change is in an individual woman's life, starting with something as mundane as her menstrual cycle. So a day or two before your period or the first day of your period, you're going to notice your energy is naturally turned inward. Instead of beating yourself up for being a girl, you want to celebrate your connection with the moon and the fact that the tide is out and your body naturally needs better rest, more nourishment, more hydration, and maybe a long hot bath.
So our body is communicating with us, and what are some of these messages that we should be paying attention to?
Well, the body always wins, and the body's messages are always really the dictates of our souls. So let's take, I know that we're going to talk about midlife. Midlife is a wonderful transition where you come to a crossroads. Mm-hmm. One fork says grow and the other says die. And what you find is women around the age of 40, 45, 50 are either doing better than they've ever done before or worse than they've ever done before. But what really happens is the body says to all of those late-night benders, too many chocolate brownies, too much ice cream to soothe emotional distress, the body says, nope, we're not doing it anymore. And then what people do is they go, oh, my body is betraying me. I'm not myself. That's not it. that's not it, kid. That's not it, kid. Your body is saying, enough already.
Well, as you were just alluding to, that there are so many changes that take place in midlife. And one of the things that I had loved so much about your book that made perfect sense to me is that when we're in our 20s, we have that nurturing time. And chemically, we're designed this way, that we want to have the children and we want to nurture and we want to give. And then when we get to be in our mid-40s, it's almost like we awaken and it's chemically happening where we say, okay, now what about me?
Yeah, it really is. It's like your body is in cahoots with your soul, you see, because we can't live fully when we're living someone else's life, or we're living what the school told you to do, or your mother told you to do, or your father, or your boss, or your husband, or your priest. You can only live fully and healthfully when you're following your inner guidance.
And I love when you say that perimenopause is when we give birth to ourselves, because so many women, me included, we feel that when we get to this midlife point that it's all downhill from here. You know, we've been married, we've had our children, maybe now we're going through divorces. We feel that the best years are behind us. And what I love is that you're here to tell us that that's not the case, that it's really just beginning. So why is that, Dr. Northrup?
Well, what's so great about midlife and beyond is that you have some skills. You have the same knowledge of yourself you had when you were 12 and 13. Before your voice got shut down. Only now you have skills and usually an income and you have some clout and you know what you want. And what's happening with today's women is that they are very well educated and they don't need the financial support oftentimes of a husband or of a man. And therefore, we are available for full partnership in a way that we never have been before. There's no reason to be in relationship with anyone just based on financial need, whereas for centuries, really, the maiden aunt needed to be subservient in the home of her brother or whatever, because otherwise she starved. This is no longer the case. And so we also have this full complement of skills, but then we also begin to realize our bodies do not need to deteriorate. See, that is that's what medicine has led us to believe, that after 40 it's all downhill. Nothing could be further from the truth, because the newest research is all about neuroplasticity and the fact that we replace every cell in our body every 7 years, and that our mind and our emotions profoundly affect the functions of our body. So age means nothing. There's chronologic age and biologic age, and you can be chronologically 70 with a biologic age of 45.
And what we do need to work on, though, I believe, is the emotional side of it. You share a story in your book, The Wisdom of Menopause, where you talk about a woman who's in her mid-30s, and this is someone that we all long to be. She's attractive, she's the perfect weight, she's physically fit, she's successful, and yet she's unable to find a partner with whom to have a relationship. Then you go on to talk about another woman, who's a little bit more realistic. She's in her mid-50s, 30 pounds overweight, wears little makeup, and yet she's dating 3 men. and I mean,
That's
you know,
exactly right.
and what you talk about is that the second woman has a beautiful soul. And I think that this is what we as women forget, because I can't tell you how many of my girlfriends who are going through divorce at this age, they say, who's going to want me? How do we overcome that?
Okay. One of the people whose work I adore is Dr. Diana Kirshner, who wrote Love in 90 Days, and then she wrote a book called Sealing the Deal. But the essence of her work is this, that we look at a role model like Queen Latifah, whose name was Dana something. I forget what her given name was at birth. But somewhere along the line as a teenager, she decided that she was going to act like a queen and become a queen. And the rest is history. This is an amazingly successful, overweight black woman. Let's look at Oprah.
Right.
An amazingly successful, slightly overweight black woman. And what each of these women has done, Madeleine Albright is another, is to simply decide deep within themselves that they are going to be their very, very best self. And how would this inner self act? And what you need to do, choose some role models of women to emulate. In my case, I have, in terms of looks, I look at the beautiful women over 50. such as Susan Sarandon, Helen Mirren, Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep is a complete anomaly in Hollywood.
Right.
She's 60. Or look at Cher in Burlesque.
Mm-hmm.
So what we need to do is look at what these women have done, because they are way showers of women who have been successful, still look beautiful, still consider themselves hot. Let's be clear. The culture will bring you down at every turn, because mainstream culture and mainstream media, as far as I can tell, is run by a group of men who have not gone beyond the age of about 12 emotionally. And therefore, everything is geared to the desires of a 14-year-old boy. Now, what you find with men, particularly men over the age of 50, there's two kinds. There's one that has opened their heart and that has gone beyond the emotions of a 14-year-old boy. And then there are those who still want the woman who's 25 years younger. Let me be clear. You do not want the men who only want to be with a woman 25 years younger. They're boring, by and large, unless they have really good taste and want a woman who's smart and fun and that kind of thing. I have found that there are more men available than you could ever imagine. And the reason that they tend to go for younger women is that younger women do not have the baggage of the average middle-aged woman in this country. So what we have to do as women, we have to look at our anger, at our disappointment, and we have to take responsibility for it and reinvent ourselves along the lines of our diamond self. So when I was 49 and going through a divorce, I had exactly the same feelings that you describe. And I did not want to be alone the rest of my life. And so with my success, New York Times bestselling author, been on Oprah, PBS specials, my real driving desire was to become the kind of woman that the kind of man I was interested in would be interested in. That became a kind of a mantra for reinvention.
So what you're saying then, we're so focused on this external beauty, but it's what we're feeling on the inside is what we wear on our face, and that's what we portray to the world. So the type of person we want to attract is the type of person we need to become.
That is exactly right. Well said. Well said.
Now, if I could just do it.
And that means you need to surround yourself with people who will support you. And what happens with many women is when they look around, they will see that they're surrounded by the kind of people who simply reinforce the belief they already have in themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so what you have to do is change the people you're with.
Do you think this is what happens in marriages when we get into our middle 40s, and that's why there's so many divorces, because you get to this point where the woman is changing and either the man changes with her or they go separate ways. And is that what's happening? You know, my girlfriends and I always joke that the Till Death Do Us Part was so much easier because we would be dying now. But is that really what's happening in our relationships today?
Well, what's happening is, you're absolutely right. Till Death Do Us Part in 1900 was 25 years.
Right.
And that's about my marriage lasted 24.
Right.
So I remember thinking, okay, I made it. I really did till death do us part. We're just living longer. So the average person died at the age of 40 in 1900. So for most of human history, we really didn't have this whole new lease on life that we have now. But I think that there's this other thing that women don't realize. The female egg has the ability to repair a faulty sperm. And that principle of biology actually goes throughout life. But what women do is, instead of realizing that they are responsible for creating the relationship they want, so this is what you would say to Alfred. Let's say that you're living with Alfred, and he's sort of fallen off the turnip truck, and he's not doing what you want, and blah, blah, blah. You say, Alfred, I am creating a relationship with a man who is in a deep adventure of love with me. Those are Diana Kirshner's words. Let me give her full credit. So, Alfred, I am creating a relationship with a man who's in a deep adventure of love with me. I'm creating this, and this is part of what I'm creating. I'd love to have you be that man. But don't worry, because this is what I'm doing. And then if you want to go off and learn tango, you go off and learn tango, or you do whatever it is you want to do. What we women do that is the big mistake, and I hope this gets wide airplay, is we complain and we nag and we do all that to get a man to do something because, this is the key, we're afraid to do it on our own. Do you know how many women 50 plus won't drive into a strange city anymore?
Right.
They haven't driven. So if the guy isn't driving, then their life becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. What you have to understand, the egg knows how to repair a faulty sperm. In our bodies, a woman has so much power to upgrade her relationship, to upgrade her family. But it only happens when you have the courage to go out and do it on your own. And then inevitably what you'll find is your whole family is following behind you. But before they will follow behind you, they will criticize you. The same happens with daughters. Let's say that you get your mojo on and you're dancing at a wedding and your daughters come up and say, Mom, no one wants to see you dancing like that.
Right.
And you say, and that's what they do. They shut you down, and you say, oh, honey, this is how the degradation of women happens, right, in individual families, with daughters bringing down their mother. I'll just go dance the way I want. Thanks, honey, for sharing. Next thing you know, your daughter will be proud of you. So it's really important to stand for your highest goddess self. Find others who are doing it. I don't think any woman can do this on her own, let me be clear. I think you need to have a whole, I call it a placenta of power. You need to have a group of women egging you on so that you can do this on your own in the support of others.
Dr. Northrup, we're going to let our listeners think about that for a moment while we take a break for our sponsors. We'll be right back. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life now has a monthly free digital magazine that can be mailed to your inbox or read online at cyacyl.com. Each month, nationally recognized leaders in their fields, such as Joel Osteen, Shaun T., Tanya Brown, Ed and Deb Shapiro, Food Network's Robert Irvine, plus many others, provide the tools that you need to inspire and motivate you. We believe in a holistic approach to life, incorporating mind, body, and spirit. As philosopher Francis Bacon said, knowledge is power. Take the wisdom provided in the publication and apply it to your everyday life. Visit cyacyl.com for more information or to begin your free subscription. That's cyacyl.com. Welcome back to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman, and our guest today is Dr. Christiane Northrup, health and wellness expert and New York Times best-selling author. Dr. Northrup, before break, we were talking about the emotional health of women, and I'd like to talk now about our physical health.
Yes.
You've said that energy is an important part of our body, and I know to discuss the chakras, we would need an entire show on that, but very briefly, if you could talk about the energy, and in particular the fourth chakra for women, what role does this have in our overall health?
Well, we tend to think of energy as something that you get if you eat sugar or drink caffeine or whatever, and we need to understand that life energy or prana or chi is actually a very real energy like electricity or like the signal for your television. You can't see it coming through the airwaves, but you can certainly feel it. And your life energy and the energy in the chakras are nothing more than transforming sites within the body that transform certain emotions into the health of the tissue. So the fourth chakra is the heart, the lungs, the shoulders, the rib cage, and this is the body center where the heart is, and it is associated with passion, compassion, and partnership. Lungs are associated with grief. So whenever someone has pneumonia or anything of that nature, just always think of the lungs as either joy or grief. With the heart and with the breasts and with the lungs and with this whole area, what we find is breasts are a physical metaphor for giving and receiving, and many, many women have problems in their breasts to the degree that they overgive and under-receive. Mm-hmm. Think about taking a breath. I was talking to a friend last night with bronchial pneumonia with an asthma reactive airway component, so she had to get an inhaler. And she said to me, okay, nothing nothing brings it home to me faster than my inability to receive completely than the fact that I can't even take a deep breath, that I've put my needs last to such an extent that I'm laid low with bronchitis and I can't receive the oxygenation of a full breath. So I like people to think of their bodies in that way. How, and with most women, it comes right down to how well can you receive when someone says, God, you look hot today, or that dress is fabulous. Can you sit there in full receiving mode, maybe with your arms outstretched, and say, thank you. It's true. It's a wonderful dress. I love it.
That's usually where I make some kind of a comment like, when's your cataract surgery or something like that.
That's it.
That's a natural reaction. And
there it is. And so you have to practice actually ramping up the receptor sites on your receiving cells. It's just like ramping up the estrogen receptors or the progesterone receptors on a cell. And also, by the way, energy is physically translated as nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the subject of the book, The Secret Pleasures of Menopause, and it is a gas produced by the endothelial lining of every blood vessel in the body under conditions of health and pleasure. Aerobic exercise gives you nitric oxide. It increases circulation throughout the body and also is the uber neurotransmitter. So it balances your levels of serotonin, beta endorphin, dopamine, all the things that women are routinely given antidepressants for. But you can cultivate that in your own body. But it starts with ramping up your ability to receive.
Okay, so once we learn how, or we start to practice receiving, what in a more tangible way can we do to help ourselves? Would exercise or a particular way of eating or vitamins work?
Okay, I would say that one of the number one things that women need to get over is this idea that a low-fat diet is a good idea. So one of the first things that needs to happen is blood sugar needs to be stabilized. You will have erratic blood sugar, mood swings, and carbohydrate cravings all day long if your breakfast is either nothing or a donut and coffee or a bagel and coffee. So in the morning, the first thing you do in the morning sets the stage for your blood sugar for the rest of the day. And for most women, it's grab and go, donut, coffee, nothing at lunch. They're working at their desk or whatever. They come home at 4 in the afternoon, absolutely exhausted, blood sugar in the toilet, and begin their evening meal at the refrigerator at 4 o'clock, and the evening meal never ends until their head hits the pillow at midnight, and then they begin again. So you need to have, first thing in the morning, some protein and a little fat, plus or minus low glycemic carbohydrates. I would say the biggest thing for women to learn is the glycemic index of foods. And the foods that turn into blood sugar really quickly are deadly for women. And that would be white potatoes, French fries, white bread, baguettes, any white foods. And you need to go with the foods that make blood sugar rise very, very slowly. Beans, brown rice is okay in limited quantities, proteins, tofu, meats, eggs. We have been sold a bill of goods on the low-fat diet, and people started to get obese right about the time that Snackwell's cookies came on the scene in the 1980s, and we began to vilify fat. There is no scientific data showing that fat of any kind is dangerous except for trans fats. What's dangerous is sugar, and it's hidden sugar. Go to the store, look at a box of cereal, read the number of grams of sugar in a cup of cereal. You will be astounded. For ideal health, we should not be having more than 15 grams of sugar a day, maybe 35, depending on the person. You go and look at yogurt, just a regular old yogurt, 13 grams of sugar in one little cup, and it's low fat, so everyone feels that they've been holy. This is a big problem. So that's one thing you can do. And, by the way, a high sugar diet plays havoc with hormones. And so at midlife, you can screw up your hormones just with your diet. And if you go to a low sugar diet with plenty of healthy fats and proteins, your hormones will balance themselves.
Well, Dr. Northrup, I hate to say this, but we are out of time. If our listeners would like to get more information about what you've been speaking about, where can they go?
Yes, www.drnorthrup.com, drnorthrup.com. I also maintain an active Facebook page, Dr. Christiane Northrup.
And as always, you can check out our website, which is cyacyl.com, which stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on our website, please read our digital magazine, listen to past shows as podcasts, sign up for our mailing list, and follow the show on Facebook. Dr. Northrup, it was, as I said in our conversation, it was such a pleasure for me to have you here today. I am living your book, so thank you so much. I would love to have you come back anytime. I still have pages of questions for you. So anytime, please, you are welcome here. Again, thank you, and best of luck in your work.
Thank you so much.
This is Joan Herman, and this is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Thanks for tuning in.